Welcome to another conversation under the tamarind tree, our fifth episode. And today we're so happy to have with us the Weir family. We have Marshall, Marilyn, Mercedes, Pastor Weir, and Sister Weir. I'm so excited to have you joining us today, and we're so pleased to have you. Those of us who are online, this is going to be a very exciting conversation, and we're going to be going down memory lane. So put your seatbelt on and let's go. How are you doing,
right.
Carol? It's been a while. Carol,
It has been, Nesta. Good to see you and good to see the Weirs, everybody. It's so good to see you. I'm excited too. Really have been looking forward to this episode.
And it's wonderful. Pastor Weir, how are you doing?
I'm doing fairly good, you know.
Yes, sir. You're looking very well, as always.
I give it Lord thanks for what is at the present time.
And Sister Weir, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you.
You're welcome.
The anchor. Pastor Weir, would you mind just sharing with us your educational journey? How it all started?
Well, I think I should start right at Kingsway High School. That should be enough. But I came to Kingsway High School having done my third year. And I spent 2 years and passed my senior Cambridge there at Kingsway High School. After Kingsway High School, I went to West Indian Training College then and did my, what was it? It was 14th grade then. And then from there, I later on did my bachelor's in theology from Andrews University. And later, my master's at Andrews University. And that was about it.
Thank you.
I'm curious, Pastor Weir, what led you to choose to pursue theology?
Well, the thing is that I really believe that the Lord wanted me to be a minister of the gospel. When I inquired and said, no, Lord, what you want me to do, I believe that the answer he gave me was that I should be a pastor.
Interesting. And you have no regrets, I figure.
No, I don't. I went to West Indian Training College then as a working student and did theology there, yes.
That leads us right into this question. I recall, I believe it was 1971 when you came to Kencott. Could you talk to us a little bit about your experience as the senior pastor for the great Kencott Seventh-day Adventist Church in Kingston?
Well, I think it was really interesting.
Yes.
Because Kencott was one of the premium churches in the city at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a good intellectual climate there at Kencott. Many of the young people were students at UA at the time. And others, of course, at high school. So there was a good climate, a good intellectual climate there. And of course, Teacher Percy, headmaster of Kingsway High School, was one of the elders at the Kencott Church. And some of the teachers at Kingsway High School were also members there. Miss Williams, and so forth. So the climate there, the intellectual climate there was above the average.
So that was a challenge for you as a pastor, Daddy?
Well, yeah, of course it was.
How so?
Eh?
In what ways was it a challenge?
Well, the thing is that since you know that you're in an intellectual climate, then you know that you cannot be just pedestrian in your operation. So you have to do some study research and so forth, and come a little above the ordinary.
So Ken got sharpened you for the rest of your
Yes,
ministry?
I think definitely.
I recall that your tenure there at Kenkop was a very beautiful time. There was no, because I've been there, seen a lot of pastors go through issues, but yours was, as far as I was a child, but it was pretty much smooth. Everybody loved you. My family was pretty close to your family. I can recall
Yes.
you had a 504 Piju, I think it was.
Yes, so yes.
Yes, and I think my uncle was one of the only person that was allowed to drive that car. I remember
Wow.
him borrowing that car at times and driving it, and I was in there. So yeah, we had a very close bond at that time.
Okay,
Sure.
that's true.
I don't know if
Because
you recall that.
nobody gets to drive Daddy's car up to now, Nesta. So
I know.
Oh,
that is
that's a privilege.
I
yeah.
do, I do.
Oh, excuse
That's
me.
right.
It took what, 50 years?
Yeah, but that 504 Piju stood out. And my sister Andrew got baptized by you, Pastor Weir.
Yes.
She reminded me of that. And my grandparents were, you know, I recall at the funeral of my grandma, you made a statement that stood with me up to this day. And you know, you said during the service that my grandparents were saints on earth, and I would never forget that.
That is true.
It blew me at
That
the
is
time. Yes, I recall that.
That is true.
Yes, 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 yes.
So,
Kenkot
Pastor,
Church was,
go ahead.
Kenkot Church provided quite an interesting challenge, really,
Mhm.
because I started a crusade in the church.
Mhm.
Yes, and I had a crusade in the church. When I look on the congregation was not what I had hoped for and expected. So I was complaining to Teacher Percy, who was then my first elder. All things were not going right. He said, man, don't worry about that. We're going fine. We have never had anything as good as this. So we went on, and I think that year we had the largest baptism in Kenkot for that year. Because we baptized, I remember, we baptized about 80 souls
Amen.
in Kenkot. And we had to put in new pews in there. And still the pew could not hold. When after Sabbath school, if you come after Sabbath school, you have to stay outside.
Mhm.
And we had some chairs underneath, some trees grow on the shade on the eve of the church. And we
Mhm.
had some chairs underneath, put underneath those trees, those shades.
Mhm.
And if you come out of the Sabbath school, you have to stay under those shades for the rest of the morning service. So we had a wonderful, satisfying growth at Kenkot during that time.
Sister Ware, I'd like to hear from you. What was it like being the shepherdess at Kenkot for the time that you were there?
Well, I can't remember any change in me. I was just myself. I had 4 children to look after, and I did. I generally sit in the back, and had to take care of Marilyn, especially because, as I said before, as soon as her father got up there to speak, she started to twitch. Bite you, bite you. Something is biting her. And I look, I don't see anything. So I took her outside, give her a little touch up and bring her back in and told her, Daddy's speaking now, we have to wait. So when I got home now, I would tell him, the service is long. You have to make it shorter. And you must tell a story so that the children can wake up. Because things bite Marlin when you start to speak.
That's funny. So
But I was a teacher in the school, in the high school,
yes.
and that was a good time. I heard that I was the first teacher, the first chemistry teacher who got a student in fourth form to pass the exam.
Wow.
Excellent.
In fourth form.
In fourth form. Wow.
And that was my first time sending up a group of students.
Mhm.
Mercy was in that group. She passed.
Impressive.
But that fellow, I can't remember his name. He passed with an A. And nobody else, even the fifth formers I met.
But that was in the 80s, mommy.
That was afterwards.
Yeah.
That was after. Wow. Yeah. So did you find that you got a lot of support as, you know, the shepherdess with 4 young children at Kencott?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem. I can't remember any trouble. The people were good to me. I got along. All Nesta was, I remember that age group that time. And I wasn't the shepherdess that dressed big and fancy because I don't like it. So I wore ordinary, normal clothes that fit me, and the boys told me they like my dress, the young men.
Okay.
So I was happy with that.
Good
And my
enough.
husband didn't tell me not to wear that.
Right.
It was okay.
Interesting days. Okay.
Yeah. Pastor Weir, is there anything that stood out particular, any incident or anything that stood out in your mind while you were at Kencott? Anything in particular?
Well, I think I should say I had a good time. The men who were in charge, they were outstanding men. Teacher Percy, the elder brother Lee, brother Brown, your grandfather, and those men were just wonderful. And so I had a good time at Kencott.
Yes, yes.
Was Brother Tomlinson there while you were there, Daddy?
Tomlinson, yes.
Oh.
Awesome.
And Brother Muir.
Brother who?
Muir.
Yes,
Brother,
yes.
Yes.
Brother Muir.
Yes.
Yes. So Pastor Weir, after your time at Kencott, you went on to the East Jamaica Conference?
I went from Kencott, I went on to Rollington Town.
Oh, okay, Rollington Town. That's right.
Yes, Rollington Town.
That's right. Okay. All right, Carol.
Okay, so I mean, okay. I realize that perhaps, you know, the Marilyn, Marshall, and Mercedes, you may have been pretty young while your parents were at Kencott, but after you had left Kencott officially, did you have any affiliation with Kencott at all that you can remember that you'd like to share?
Well, I went to school there. Go ahead, Marshall. I was going to say, I wasn't at Kencott when they were there. I wasn't present at the time, but I did go to Kingsway Prep School. So that was my recollection, being at, having chapel inside the church and worship and, just being a part of that growth there and that experience, which, I thought was really good. the church grounds, fun to run around and play. We talked about the tamarind tree, of course, with the seat around it, wrapped around, so which was also like a source of business, because we used to pick the tamarind and make tamarind balls and do all these crazy things. So it was fun going there and being on Kencott grounds.
During my time there, they had something around the back they called the chicken coop. I don't know if others would know it. So I had classes up there. So you go the stairs up to the top.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Mhm.
up there, and we had fun, because even though that was a church, the back section of it, there was a kind of exclusivity that we had. The rest of the school was, the other students were way over there, but we had this to ourselves, and it was nice being there. Cool breeze as well from the tamarind tree. And yes, we did study, but we had that freedom to be away from the main source of activities. And yes, I liked it there, but no, growing up, I didn't go to Kencott. Mercy will probably add to that, but yes.
Yeah, I came into adulthood at Kencott. When I returned, I met up with Nesta, Gary, and Ian. They were my confidants, and to this day, they're still my brothers, They took care of me, because you can imagine like a young woman in their teens just becoming a woman and hanging out with young people and without your parents around. My entire family had moved to Mandeville, and they were like a fence around me. They were my protectors. I never felt at any time vulnerable or compromised around them. And I don't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate it so much then. I just kind of took it for granted. But like looking back now, it's like, wow, that was amazing. And to imagine that we've maintained these bonds over the years. And also, I mean, I was singing with them, I was moving around, went to nursing school, and Gary taught me everything about my car, changing oil and, almost teaching me to do tricks and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we're pushing stuff in the night, going to Port Royal and fishing boats in the dead of the night, rowing. And I mean, my parents, I remember Daddy might have said something once or twice, like, I hear some stuff, but he never had any doubt about the company that I was with. He felt, right, Daddy? I think he felt comfortable knowing who I was with.
You hear
even though,
some of these stories for the first time.
no. But yeah, I really grew a lot. The elders there, like Jackie's mom, and
Aunt Joan.
Aunt Joan, and all these women that were there, just amazing. And the like he said, the intellectual
climate.
climate, very good at it. Intellectual climate at Kencott. I mean, everyone was in school, in college, in high school, going somewhere, doing places, and I'm proud to know all of those people now. Everybody has done wonderful things and have been wonderful to emulate and watch. So yeah, that was a great time. Some of the best years of my life in terms my teen, early teen to adulthood were at Kencott.
Mercedes, I thank you very much for sharing that and for also guarding some of the stories. That's very smart. That's very good. But Mercedes was like a sister to me. I felt obligated to make sure that she was fine because I had so much respect for her dad. So when she came to Kencott at that time, we felt that it was our responsibility to protect her and to make sure that she was safe. And we had a lot of fun together. We did a lot of stuff together, Saturday nights and Sunday mornings, and good fun, healthy fun. Right, Mercy?
Yeah, climbing Blue Mountain a few times.
Yes, yes, we had a good time.
Well, Nessa, you did help me out a few times when I wanted to come to Kingston. When I was at NC West Indies College, I got a ride now and then to come to town. Yes. Yeah, you kind of share the love as well. I appreciate it. Got some free rides to town, yes.
That's true. That's true. I remember that. That's true.
Yeah.
But
I guess Kencott was good training ground for you, Nesta,
yeah.
to be to let the
Yes,
brotherly love continue and the sisterly
exactly.
love.
Amen.
But just for our audience, could you bring us up to speed, Marshall, what you're doing in your career right now, and then Marilyn and Mercedes?
I'm a physical therapist in early intervention, so I work with the 0 to 3 population, and I am in Tampa, Florida at the moment.
Okay, I'm in Jamaica. I work with the East Jamaica Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, and I've been with them for almost 32 years. I don't want to go nowhere else, but the Lord knows what the future holds, so I leave that in his hand. Currently, I'm doing audit for the churches within the constituency. Thank you.
I'm a nurse anesthetist and currently an assistant professor at the University of South Florida, teaching people to do what I do for a living. And I'm also in Tampa.
Back to you, Carol.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So
I just want to put a plug in there, though. It's not just 3 girls. There was a
right.
brother.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I wanted us to talk a little bit about your brother because yeah, what from your perspective, having a brother who has exceptionalities, what was that like growing up? Because that's something I think we tend to shy away from in talking about, but I think it's important for us to have a conversation about it.
I'll start. He was between Mercedes and myself. So he was my big brother, not Mercy's. And there were moments where I really didn't understand what was going on. But there were other times where it was just a lark, a lot of jokes, just, okay, all right, Milton, yeah. He had his predictabilities at times. For starters, once the calendar came out, he'd be the first one to look to see when it's his birthday. It's like, so what about my birthday? He had those selfish tendencies at times. Even up to yesterday, I was talking with this guy and I offered him a sweet and he was like, no, he don't eat sweets. And I had to tell him, my brother don't eat sweet either, but he loved chocolates, So there's some things that I still remember and I smile about, but there were uncomfortable moments where you just knew, okay, this is a special case and who am I to make much ado about it? I'll accept it as much as I can and the Lord knows best. That was my take on it. Yeah.
Mercy.
Milton was a very kind and loving soul. I mean, he would give you whatever. I mean, he even allowed thieves to come in the house and take whatever they want. People come in and take mangoes, like help themselves to whatever. Even in Mandeville, people like, oh, those are the stuff up girls, and Milton is the friendly one because everybody was his friend. Everyone just loved him and was his friend. I remember Marshall came along and it was her task to complete because everybody came up with like, okay, Milton, before Marilyn goes to the kindergarten, you're gonna learn to read, right? And then we'd be teaching him and whatever. And then Marshall came along and then it was her job, but she didn't quite succeed. But his memory, it was strange. Like he could read, he could write his name and things like that. But his memory, like he had a phone book and he had numbers in there, just numbers with no names. But he knew what it was, like just different things like that. It was just very interesting. And I miss him because his sense of humor was unparalleled, really. And yeah.
And I guess I was the youngest one, or I am the youngest one. So I think I had maybe almost a force of protection when it came to, because of him and because of how friendly he was, because that's Milton's sister. So, I'm in the community, again, taking things for granted that I probably shouldn't have, but that's Milton's sister, so I would be protected. I remember Sabbath evenings and even throughout walks, he would take me on all these crazy walks around the community, just walking, stretching. And it's like, wow, how do you even know these places? And you'd go there and people are like, hey, Milton, I'm like, okay, he knows all these people. It was really, very, very interesting. Like Mercy said, very kind. Whatever you needed, he would not defend himself. But if you messed with his friends, that's a whole other story, and it would really take a lot to trigger him. But yeah, don't mess with his friends and family.
And you two were karate buffs.
I know, right?
They went to
And
karate classes and he was known for his kick.
aha, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I want us to even extend that discussion a little more because as I mentioned, unfortunately, even today, in some areas, especially in some parts of Jamaica and elsewhere, North America, Europe, you name it, globally, we tend to want to sweep some things under the carpet, and we really shouldn't. And I wonder if each of you have maybe some word of encouragement for a family who may be watching with a family member with exceptionalities. What kind of encouragement or tips can you give them in helping to cope? Because I know that it's not easy. It can be very challenging at times.
I think even as it, branches to my current profession, growing up with Milton, I didn't understand, what his limitations were or how to address or work with it. I don't think that's something that, even in Jamaica now that we truly fully get. So now looking back and, it's about learning to accept and looking at the strengths.
Yeah.
What are the strengths that your child, your brother, your sibling has? And working towards that, building on that and continually, that's where we grow from our strengths. If you focus on all the things that you can't do, then that becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But if you can look at the things that you can do and keep growing and building on that, then that helps and it makes a difference. Being able to include the family member, whoever it is with the exceptional skills or special needs or however we want to look at it, finding ways to make sure that they're able to participate in all the things that the family is doing and including them and making sure that they feel like a part of the family really helps.
Yeah, and I add to that where nutrition is important, and it's not because you feel that, okay, in your opinion, this person might not be of any worth, that you don't ensure that they get the proper nutrition, the proper health, the proper clothing, etc. There's still a soul, so you
Right.
still take care of them. Yes, as Mercy said, letting in the thieves in the house, but everyone comes with their own different specialities. So in this case, yes, you still treat them as a soul. You still make sure they're properly fed and clothed, etc. And also you include them in stuff. We used to have worship sessions. I remember when Daddy would ask, okay, Milton, what's your favorite song to sing? And he said 555. And we just knew it, we turned to 555 and we sing it, include them in family activities. And it's not that, okay, you shut them up in a room, you want to them quiet, and people should know this is my brother, this is my sister, my aunt, whoever it is, so that if something happens, they go wondering, oh yeah, no, hey, that's mine, so don't hide them away. That cannot be the solution. Yes. I have a picture of him right here if you want to see him.
Yes, that would be lovely. Yes, there he is. Awesome. From your perspective, Sister Weir, do you have any, guidelines, tips, any words of encouragement for other mothers who may have a child with exceptionalities? Because, you are perhaps one of the closest, if not the closest human being to them. So what would you say to them?
Marshall said a lot, and so has Marilyn. But I didn't understand him at first. I just know that he was a slow learner, and I'm a teacher. So I took him to places where I thought I could get some help. And right now, looking back, Jamaica has nothing to help them.
At the time, yeah, they didn't.
I don't know what they even have now. Because
It's much improved now. We have a
Yeah.
long way to go, but we've made some strides.
And I treated him just as the others. And sometimes you have to show more love. But I work along with him, and he thinks he looks like me. And afterwards, when he grew up, if he asks for anything and I can give him, I give it to him. I checked with the doctor for his eyes to see if anything was wrong there, but nothing was wrong. And I just realized, but since I was not a specialist in that area, I couldn't teach him anything more. I tried a special school, but it didn't work. And so he grew as my friend.
Mhm.
And he felt that he was my friend. He said, Mommy, like, oh, you and I move good. Then, you want something from me, so and so, and so I can do so and so. And I would ask him questions that I need to ask him. And he would ask me some questions too that puzzled me. But I answered the best of my ability.
And you did your best, which is
Yeah.
important.
I feel that I did my best. At his funeral, I saw a young lady I never saw before. And I asked her, who invited you here? Why did you come to this funeral? She said, I came to know Milton's people. I knew Milton, but I didn't know his people. So all Milton's people were at that funeral, and I showed them to her.
Including the Governor General, right?
His wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pastor Ware, I'd like to hear from you in terms of your own ministry and the journey of that ministry. How did having Milton impact your ministry as a pastor? I wonder.
Well, I shouldn't say the impact was not very pronounced. Okay. We did what we could, you see, but the impact was not very pronounced.
And how about the impact on you as a dad?
Well, again, as I would say, we did all we could.
Yes.
Tried our best.
That's all the master requires of us, really.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
One thing more, we took him everywhere we went with the others, and nobody noticed anything. I left them one time with a lady, and we went out somewhere. When I came up, the lady said, you have a bunch of angels here. How do you manage them? I said, well, you said they are angels. At home it's different. They are free to run around and do what they want. She said, they don't give me any trouble. You can bring them back anytime. And that was 4 of them.
Wow.
And she thought she could manage these angels in my absence.
Mhm.
So that's how they behaved. They were good children. They were very lovely children in behavior.
And that's really a testament to the both of you, Pastor and Sister Weir, as to how you would have brought them up, you know, because that doesn't happen just like that. That doesn't happen by chance at all.
I remember one thing that was strange though. Milton had chicken pox. And so mom wanted all of us to get it and we didn't get it. But when we got measles, all of us girls got measles. Milton didn't get it. But we never got it.
Interesting.
So where could you tell us in retirement, what do you do currently in retirement? How do you go about your day?
That's a very good question. because you have to find things to do with your time. But I think what I do, I spend much time reading.
Okay.
I develop a liking for reading. I guess folk think I should have written something, but I didn't write anything.
Right.
But
It's not too late.
it's late because I can't write.
Well, somebody else can write for you. One of your
Yeah.
daughters can be the scribe.
He
Yes.
fasts every Wednesday.
Okay.
Every Wednesday he fasts. Yes.
Yes.
And Pastor Weir, I went to Pastor Campbell's funeral and I believe I saw you drive in. Am I
Yes,
wrong?
I was there.
Mhm.
I was there.
I know you were there, but I think you drove
I went-
yourself there,
Yeah, well, I still drive around near places.
which is exceptional. I mean, wow, that's all I can say.
Yes, I
think
don't
just-
drive in the far distances.
Yeah, I don't know if you mind, but I think it would be incredible if you could just share your birth, how old you are. It's just amazing. If you
Yes. I'm a very old man now. I'm 92 plus.
Thanks.
Wow,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
Past my
blessing.
92nd birthday.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wonderful. Pastor Weir, as we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, you know, when you were a shepherd leading the church, there are some people who currently that are watching this, I'm sure, that are no longer walking with us, that are no longer in the church. What word of encouragement or how would you share with them, you know, a way to get back with Christ? We have some past members from Kenkot who are no longer walking with us, but they were your members back then.
That is distressing. Always to think of some members who are not walking anymore is distressing. But I want to say to them, God still remembers you. God knows you. And he has a place for you. He had a plan for you. And that plan has not changed. So wherever you are, get in line again, because he still loves you and cares for you. Come again. Wherever you are, come again.
Thank you. Thank you. Carol?
That sounds like a good note to end on, Nestor.
I just want to get a commitment from Daddy while I'm on video. Daddy, you are a good swimmer. I think you still are. When I come back to Jamaica, you think you will come swimming with me? Can you commit on?
No, I'm not a good swimmer anymore.
No?
The last time I went to sea and tried to swim, I didn't do very well.
Oh, well, we can wait out. All right.
Wow. And this was tremendous. You know, I appreciate this interview. Thank you so much for coming on, Marshall, Marilyn, Mercedes, Pastor Weir, Sister Weir. Is there anything else you guys would like to share before Carol wrap up? Anybody?
Yes,
Well, I
that
just
is
want to
brilliant.
Huh?
I'd
Go
like to
ahead.
say it's very nice of you thinking of us and bring us into this interview,
Yes, sir.
because sometimes we tend to think that nobody remembers us.
Not at all.
But it's wonderful to know that there are friends all the way back there who are still there for us and who think of us. And when I kneel to pray, I remember the churches I pastored and prayed for the members of the churches I pastored. So those people are always near and precious to me.
Amen.
Whether they are in Kingston or St. Thomas or Portland or wherever they are.
Amen.
And it's wonderful of you, Nesta, to remember us and to think of something like this in which we could participate.
Thank you.
I think Marilyn was bursting.
Now, that is both names, his Christian name and his middle name are Bible names. So grandma knew what she was doing. She saw how special that is.
And can you just share with those younger viewers, Marilyn, because we know him as Pastor M.E. Weir, but what is the M and the E for? Those Bible
It's
names.
Mary Moth, Epaphras,
My.
Weir. And by extension, he named most of us M.E. except for Marshall. So it's Mercedes, Ermita, Weir, Milton, Ursel, Weir, Marilyn, Alicia, Weir, and then Marshall, mommy put her foot down, Jan, Weir, yes.
Pretty cool.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
Since he's so,
all that private info.
1 minute, since he's so forgetful, I made it easy for him. All the girls were born on the 7th day of the month.
My.
So all he needs to remember is the month. And Milton, the boy, was born on the 14th.
Wow.
2 times
Wow.
7.
Oh, wow.
Somebody said that was 7-day Adventist.
Yes. Perfection right there, times 2. Wow.
It's
That's
amazing.
impressive. That's something that is noteworthy to go in the book, Pastor Weir.
Yes.
No, but one thing is 6 of us. You have January, February, March birthday, then July, August, September birthday.
There you go.
All right.
Cool.
Right.
It's beautiful.
All right. Any famous last words from Mercedes and Marshall? No?
Mercedes playing shy.
Yeah, just say, thank you, Daddy, for having me here, a part of the ministry, growing up in the church and seeing it, church and conference level and all these different, just all that leadership. And again, I really appreciate your leadership in the house and in the ministry. I mean, we had worship morning and evening. You talk about comprehension and he talks about the intellectual climate and building all of that. He would read, we would all take turns reading through scripture. So you learn to read, with, practicing with your parents, and as well as the comprehension part. Okay, how do we, you discuss these different things. So, open-minded and just learning, not so much doctrinal or being forced down your throat in that regards, but just being able to understand in your own way, being able to ask these questions. He didn't think any question was silly or dumb. You could just ask your question, and some of us more than others could be, a little more argumentative. Won't point any names or call any names or point fingers, but just having that, being able to do that. And so I really appreciate that ministry and seeing what that looks like. What does my father look like? And I really appreciate that. I love you, Daddy.
Marsha. Okay, Marsha.
And Pastor Weir, I must say that while you were at Kingcott, I was very, very young. So I don't remember you
Mhm.
while I was there. I mean, while you were there as a pastor. But every
Mhm.
time you came back to Kennecott, I always, always, apart from, as Marshall says, apart from the spiritual side, I could be sure that my vocabulary was going to increase because of listening to you deliver a sermon. And I really appreciated, that's one of the things I appreciated about you, that you were, perhaps Kennecott was, I don't know if that was where it began in terms of, this stimulation to be, catering to the masses, the intellectuals and everybody else, but it certainly has been really a breath of fresh air for me to listen to your sermons. I really
But I
loved it.
always believe that people who listen to me should learn something. And
Absolutely.
if I didn't have anything in the sermon, at least I try a new song.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's one thing I want to say is that children loved him. And I didn't realize this until I moved away and I was like in New York and different places. And they're like, oh, your name is Weir? Was your father Pastor Weir? He was pastor when I was at Rollington Town, Short, whichever church it was. And I loved him. He would always be playing with us. I'm like, I don't know if he played with me as much. So I'd be a little bit jealous, because the pastor, he's very busy. He's out ministering to, but lots of little children, who were my age, not my age now, they loved him. They were playing with him. He was very playful. So he wasn't just a pastor for the adults. The children remember him and love him very much. Yeah, and he baptized a lot of them, because a lot of them, even now on Facebook, they're like, oh, your father baptized me, tell him hello, or, so he was very loved by the children. I think that is a mark of a great person.
True.
His signature, hi, friend.
Oh, I use it. I use it.
All right.
I'm trying to get somebody's attention. I say, hey, friend. And they'll be looking at me like, friend, I use it.
Yeah, I'm so proud of my parents. Like daddy, he got an honorary doctorate recently. And mommy, same thing in terms of teaching. She's still so sharp. Even when I was in grad school, I would call her to still help me with chemistry. She has students all over the world as well, who's like, oh, your mom taught me. She was my teacher. And they are, they're at their age, they're self-sufficient, taking care of themselves, completely sharp. I'm still learning from them. I can still lean on them when I need advice or counsel. I'm just so very proud of them. Yes.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Right. So I think it is only fitting then that we ask you, Pastor Weir, if there are no other comments, if we can ask you, Pastor Weir, to just close us off in prayer, please.
All right, okay. Let's go ahead. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for these moments that we share together. We are your children, and we share common hope, the blessed hope, that one day we will see you in the kingdom. And be with you. Thank you for these dear young people, these friends. Keep your shelter over them and keep us true and faithful until Jesus comes. We pray in his name. Amen.
I want to thank you again for joining us for another episode of Conversation Under the Tamarind Tree, and we hope that you'll join us soon. Thank you.
Okay, Nestor. Very wonderful.
Bye.
Thank you, and God bless.
Okay.